absolutely. So I have had a varied life experience. I've lived in 3 different countries and worked in all 3. I sometimes say that I'm American by birth, but Canadian by choice. And I came to Canada by way of the UK. I worked in London, England, partway through my career. I'm a mom. I have 2 children who both have entrepreneurial spirits themselves. They're teenagers. And I have worked in both the for-profit and nonprofit sectors. My early part of my career was really driven a lot by helping companies be profitable, either working on strategy for companies or working as a consultant. And over the last decade or more, I've really been focused more on the nonprofit sector, helping prosperity be more inclusive. So rather than profit for a single company, inclusive prosperity more broadly. That's a big question. And I think that the first way to answer that question is that it just actually raised a lot of questions. There's a lot of uncertainty now. There's uncertainty that wasn't here before. And it keeps compounding. And so I think what we're seeing is a need for real resiliency and connection to the fundamentals. And some of that's actually listening to people. And I think a lot of companies are doing well by listening to what consumers need today in these new circumstances and adapting as they need to. And then I think, and so some companies are able to pivot and adapt their success, and some companies aren't, and they're making some really hard choices. And I think one of our roles is to help the companies in our network succeed as long as they can across Canada. And if they're not going to, then we help them as they make those tough choices, and then we will be helping future companies start and succeed. But the reality is, this is a really challenging time. I think one of our goals is to help one of the outcomes of the pandemic not be increased disparity. I think hopefully the recovery from the pandemic will be more inclusive than the impacts of the pandemic have been. This is a happy pandemic story. There aren't many, but this is one. This is a new series that is adapted from an old tried and true series that we had. And the pandemic forced us to go online, as so many things did. But what that enabled was for us to make this amazing series, which is a 3-part series: Rock My Business Idea, Rock My Business Plan, and Rock My Business Cash Flow, into virtual workshops in English and en français, which we deliver across the country, and each one is available to entrepreneurs across the country. So whereas before we would have been confined to a room size and to a specific date in terms of what would be available, for instance, for entrepreneurs in Winnipeg, we would have one day for one workshop in English. Now, a Francophone entrepreneur in Winnipeg can choose from any French-speaking workshop happening across the country and attend the one that works best for them. So what we're seeing is a great mix of entrepreneurs from across the country participating, those in rural areas that wouldn't have participated before. And the whole idea is, how do we give the entrepreneurs what they need to build? And that's why it's a 3-part series, from what's your business plan or your business idea, so that you can really think about how to evaluate your business idea and get ready to launch your business, and what kinds of questions you need to answer, to building out your robust business plan, to then creating a cash flow with robust assumptions that will help you really have a sense, especially in a pandemic, of the kinds of things to take into account as you're making sure that you have the resources you need to launch and sustain your business for the first couple of years. Yeah, so there are 8 awards of $10,000 each, and the awards will be, the people who are eligible for the awards are those who've gone through the Rock My Business Plan and Rock My Cash Flow workshops and completed those workshops and completed their business plan and cash flow. The awards are adjudicated by RBC, And any entrepreneur is eligible who is a young entrepreneur in Canada, aged 18 to 29 for some of the awards, 18 to 39 for a couple of the awards, and a panel of RBC judges will select the winner. I think the thing that's great is that, again, there's so much uncertainty in entrepreneurship, and having that carrot of the opportunity to get a cash award for participating in these workshops and fully completing your plan, it's a wonderful carrot to help more entrepreneurs feel like they will get not only value for their business, but also potentially this cash benefit in creating their product. And then, of course, those who have their business plan and cash flow can apply for a Futurpreneur startup program and apply to receive loan financing and mentorship in addition. It's quite straightforward, and the registration for this opens on November 16th. So check out our website at www.futurepreneur.ca. And to apply, entrepreneurs need to have attended the workshops, both Rock My Business Plan and Rock My Cash Flow workshops, and then submit their completed business plan, their completed cash flow, using the templates that will be made available to them in the workshops. So it's pretty straightforward. And it's tough. I think the pandemic is different for different entrepreneurs and different businesses. There are some businesses that actually have had a positive pandemic impact on their business. I don't think anyone sees this as positive, but we recently did a survey and 16% of our entrepreneurs actually had seen benefit, whereas over 80% had not. So I think, really thinking carefully about how they work, what they're doing, what adjacencies are available in their business. For instance, we have an entrepreneur named Community, which is a gym where they had classes using equipment at the gym. And they not only moved to Zoom classes, but they rented their equipment. So they created the challenge of how do we get equipment to our class participants so that they can do our Zoom classes into an opportunity to have another revenue stream by renting out equipment. Similarly, there are bakeries in the early days when everyone was baking bread to preserve their mental health. There are bakeries that started selling flour, realizing that some people wanted not to buy bread, but to be able to make their own, and there were some shortages. So lots of different ways of thinking about adjacent delivery models and adjacent product models. And in some cases, entrepreneurs will come up with whole new businesses. This one is budgeting. Understand your cash flow. Understand what your limitations are, what you need to survive, where you can scale back, where you can't. Understanding what resources are available to you. And there are a lot of government and nonprofit resources available to entrepreneurs. We ourselves had loan payment support as well as top-up loans available to the entrepreneurs in our portfolio. And on our website, we have a resource for entrepreneurs to navigate the wage subsidy and the changes to the wage subsidy and the rent benefits and the emergency business accounts, lots of resources. So understand what those are and which are relevant to you. Think about how to adapt your business. And I think one thing that's been tricky is thinking outside the current wave, right? There are the different stages of reopening, there are different waves of the pandemic. Understanding and trying to think ahead to what the next one will be and what the next one will be. Some entrepreneurs came out with masks right away, but some waited, saying this is going to be a longer term thing. Let me put more time into the design of this so that this can be an ongoing product for me. I think that the third or the last category that I would mention is it's easy for entrepreneurs to really focus on all the things that they have to do, but there's that adage, put your own oxygen mask on first. And I think that really has to happen. We recently hosted a fantastic Trailblazers event focused on mental health for entrepreneurs. And Marie Chevrier, Devin Fiddler, Nathan Kong and Jason Courtpat, all of whom are Futurpreneur BDC entrepreneurs, or in Marie Chevrier's case, a very successful BDC client with her company Sampler. And they gave some advice that I'd actually love to share here. One of the things that Jason suggested is, take everything one step at a time and face failure and, look at failure and face it right in the face. Get your thoughts down on paper, research what would happen if you failed? What would that look like? And I think what he said and what we've heard from others is that actually thinking through what that looks like can help entrepreneurs realize that they know what to do not to fail, and they know what steps to take, but it also takes some of the fear out. I think that fear of the uncertainty is really, really challenging. And it's really important to just focus on your mental and physical health. Take the time to do what you need to do to take care of yourself. If you don't have any reserves, this is the whole oxygen mask adage. If you don't have any reserves, then you don't have anything to give to your employees, to your community, to your business. And it's okay not to always be okay. This is a time when a lot of people aren't okay, and they're not even trying to keep a small business going. So it's okay to not be okay. And sometimes you need to take the time that you need. One of the comments that Marie Chevrier shared, which I love, is that you are the most important thing on your to-do list. So I think in terms of activities for entrepreneurs, coming up with those lists, doing what you need to do, exploring pivot opportunities, thinking about how to be more resilient, all of that's important. But to do that successfully, you need to put yourself first and give yourself what you need in order to be able to persevere and get through this, because it's a marathon, not a sprint. I think some of the points I just shared are some of them I think really that they're not in it alone. Entrepreneurs, Canada's rooting for you. We were rooting on you for you before the pandemic. We're rooting for you now. This is really hard, and you're not alone, even though it feels like you are. There are resources there for you. There are organizations like Futurpreneur there for you. And hopefully your business will get through this and maybe, survive to thrive on the other side of this, or pivot to have even greater potential. Maybe you hadn't thought about being online, but then you go online and apparently that's where you should have been all along. But I think the key message is whatever happens with your business, you will get through this and you will get to the other side. And whether it's this business that succeeds or whether it's the lessons you learn in this business that get you to your next one, you will get to the other side of this. It really will be okay. This can feel like a really scary time, and I think whether you're a business yourself or whether you're someone who's hoping that small businesses will help our inclusive economic recovery, it's a tough time. But opportunity comes from adversity. It just does, and there are actually exciting, resilient new companies that will emerge from this pandemic. One thing that we've seen at Futurpreneur is an amazing increase in entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs looking to launch businesses and looking for our loan financing and mentorship support for them as they're launching. Actually, more demand than we've seen in years. So I think for all that this is a really challenging time, it really is also a time of new opportunity. And coming up with if you've been thinking about starting a business and it feels like this might be the time, join our workshops, think about your idea, think about what you need to include in your business plan, include the elements of how you will make it more resilient and more pandemic proof, and then go for it. It's still a really exciting, important time, and we believe that a lot of important companies will survive this pandemic or start during this pandemic and thrive following it.